Hi, this is Andy Biggs from Arizona's 5th Congressional District. I'm so glad to have you here with me today. I'm with Tom Hatton. He's the founder and CEO of Mountainside Fitness, and this is Arizona's premier and privately owned health club. They currently operate 18 locations with 1,400 employees and more than 100,000 active members. That's pretty amazing. It's huge. He wrote a memoir in 2018 called Dream On. It was a 2019 bestseller on Amazon's biographies of business professionals. He's been featured on the cover of Entrepreneur Magazine, U.S. News and World Report, Forbes Magazine, and Club Industry Magazine. He's a regular speaker at ASU W.P. Carey College of Business in both the undergrad and master's program classes. He's been the featured speaker at the 2018 M Fitness Conference in Sochi, Russia. And Tom is a board member of Special Olympics, Arizona Diamondbacks Foundation, and is a former chairman for Make-A-Wish Arizona. He's just a great member of the community. His business employs a lot of people. It is what I always say, the market drives what's an essential business, and the market has said Mountainside Fitness is an essential business. And so recently, the other day, the governor issued an executive order closing down gyms, bars, water parks, and tubing areas. I think tubing areas is always interesting to me because I like tubing down the salt, man. But anyway,
it's not an everyday thing.
Not yeah, exactly. And so, and Tom, you tell us how that affects you and your employees. How many employees that you actually have that are going to be affected by this, and your customer base that are going to be affected by this?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, it would be, and Congressman Biggs, thanks for having me on. It's going to affect all 1,400 plus employees. Just like we had to deal with on the first go around, we had to furlough 1,350 of those employees with no time of when they're going to come back. Which made it a little bit more difficult is that because of the size of the company, we're over 500 employees. We were not able to get any PPP government assistance. So we've been on our, shoestrings this whole time to get, and then working with the governor's office for the protocols when we opened, following those, and then to kind of get this news with actually no notice or reasoning or proof behind it was very disturbing.
Well, so you've responded. Well, let me before we get to how you've responded, because of the governor had protocols, CDC had protocols. You guys, I assume, had to spend some capital, and you made some changes in procedure, and maybe even some physical rearrangement of within the gym itself. So, what did you guys do to try to prepare to reopen initially?
Yeah, firstly, it started honestly more digitally. We had to figure out a program to allow our members to come into our group fitness classes, but select a seat, something like you would see in a Harkins theater. You could go online now 24 hours in advance and pick the spot on the floor in your group fitness class, which correlates to social distancing. That was very difficult, but we were able to achieve that. Secondarily, we unplugged every other cardio piece so that if you're on a treadmill and I'm on a treadmill, we're about 7 to 8 feet apart. And then we spaced out our strength floor so that if you're doing something and I'm doing something, we're at least 6 feet apart. That was kind of the tangible things that we were able to do. The other things that we had to bring in was more cleaning. We brought in a hydrostatic cleaning company first that kind of cleaned the clubs at a level of a hospital. They went around and sprayed in hazmat suits, and then all that ionic spray stuck to all the equipment and the surfaces. And then we ordered and have 3 times as many wipes and the gels for your hands in the facility for us to use to clean and members to use to clean. And then we have our protocols with our staff. So it's been an interesting process to even get to opening and stay open.
Yeah, and did that? I assume that took some resources that you and as you say, you were shut down basically, so it's real tough to put that all together and keep things going. So once you engaged in this, you're all set and you're ready to go. You're getting customers coming back, and you're there. And then this had to be a tremendous blow Monday night when you hear the governor issue that order.
Yeah, and there was a little even, Congressman Biggs, there's a little bit more behind it because not only have we worked really strongly with the office during the time that we were closed down, we jumped out in front and felt like because of our place in Arizona and the community with so many members, first thing we did was donated $100,000 to the Arizona COVID Relief Fund. Then we became one of the major testing sites with Patient's Choice for all the antibody drive-in testing thousands of Arizona's. And then we donated thousands of cases of wipes to Banner Hospital to partner with them. So we felt like not only were we working to try to function staying open without any government help or to get open, but during the time we were closed, we were spending money in the community because we believed in what everybody was doing, and then working with the office in the protocols to stay open. So once we got to that point, I felt like, okay, we've done everything that we possibly can. Now let's just function forward in the way we had, worked with the office to do that. Getting that notice, I got a call from Sandra Watson 5 minutes before Governor Ducey went on the air saying, if you get a chance, watch the news conference.
Wow. That's yeah. Watch the news conferences. You might feature you. I mean,
go home 5 hours. Tell 1,500 people that they got to go home, and 100,000 people that they don't have a place to go work out. And we're not going to tell you why, but it's kind of like if you were tubing.
Yeah, exactly. They pull you out of the water or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So tell me. It was reported that you filed a civil complaint against the governor. Tell me about that, and what's your theory of the case, and what is the legal theory? Yeah,
the pleadings. Well, we really went into this, and we have been looking at it a long time, just in case this happened, and looking at other case laws and what was happening in other states, i.e., Michigan, where we had a victory and then a stay and then a kind of a little bit of a freeze. And we looked at that and said, what authority does he have and where is he coming from? So really our main goal out of the suit is to create a stay and have the whole order reevaluated by the court. And our biggest stance in general reasoning is the arbitrary nature that Governor Ducey just said, oh, by the way, it's a health club today and not anybody else, as I've said on news, not a Home Depot or anything else like that. So we wanted to see the proof. We went into a little bit more case law as to where it comes from, not just from the current cases that are in the United States, but previous cases on what authority government has when it comes to emergency actions. And then we just kind of went down that road in a pretty detailed brief. And yes.
Yeah. So you've got the pleading in, you got the complaint in. And because it is an emergency, I would suggest that you're looking for immediate relief because of this. I would anticipate that there'd been a briefing schedule and a hearing coming up at sometime pretty quickly. What's the posture of that?
Well, the interesting part, what happened really yesterday, is we got the hearing set for Monday. So it was a little bit further away than we wanted. I wanted it today.
Right.
So in the meantime, for about half the day yesterday, Congressman Biggs, we weren't getting cited. We were, fine. And then somewhere around 2 o'clock, we started to get police officers showing up in the facilities and starting to cite. What was interesting is I understood that might happen. Well, what we found out yesterday was the police officers aren't citing Mountainside Fitness, ultimately my responsibility. They're walking in and citing Bob Smith, the 20-year-old kid working behind the front counter.
Wow.
So his name is on the complaint. His name has to appear in court, not Tom Hatton, not Mountainside Fitness. So what we've asked one municipality to do, and they are working with this, is to say, can you stop going to the clubs and scaring the kids? Come to me at our office and just serve me, and we'll move forward with that. And I think, hopefully, I know I got one municipality that has agreed to do that. We're hoping that if other municipalities feel the need to have to go in and cite us, that they will follow suit and keep, the 17 to 21-year-old kid working at the front counter out of this. Because
Yeah, what I find amazing about this, Tom, is that's an intimidation tactic. It's not meant to get at that kid. It's meant to scare the kid so people will quit working for you and try to squeeze you that way. And yet at the same time, how many arrests? I don't know of any arrests made of people who were looting and rioting, tearing down Scottsdale Fashion Center.
And what's interesting is I firmly believe, and has spoken to so many of the police officers in all the cities, they hate this.
Yeah.
They hate having to run around and do this. They don't feel like this is what their job should be. And they certainly don't want to serve, Billy Smith working at the front counter. They don't want to do that. So the fact that there's a statute, there's a small little code that says we can go into the business, and if the owner is not in that particular location, we can cite the one who's in charge and whoever we deem that to be, and not have it go to business. We were thinking, give it to Billy Smith that says Mountainside Fitness Center has to appear in court. That's not what they're doing. So we're hoping today to get that changed from all municipalities, because I think if that got out, that would not bode well for our mayors or the governor. I'm perfectly happy to accept those. And if everybody could just wait, we're going to have a hearing on Monday, go from there. So I'm hoping that this city that I'm talking about here currently, they've been pretty cooperative early this morning. And that's their plan, was just to meet me and just kind of have a long form of citations ready to go. And I said, I'm fine. And hopefully the other cities will follow suit, because I think this would be terrible if they try to continue to do this particular tactic.
Well, I really, I think that America is looking at what's happening, and in Arizona as well, and they're just going, how did this devolve, quite frankly, to this? And they're so frustrated with it. I get calls all the time from people. I talk to people all the time who are just, they're just so totally upset, and they see rioting, they see lack of law and order going on out there. They see the police being undermined by elected officials, and then at the same time, this authoritarian bent. And I've written about this, to go in and say to a business, you know what, we're going to shut you down. And I don't know if your attorney's looking at this, but I've said this before, and I mean it. I view this as an unconstitutional taking. They've come in and basically shut you down. You have lost money. You might have lost goodwill. You might have lost clients permanently, and you've got employees that are making decisions based on this. That is in many ways changed the nature of your business. That's a taking in my book. I don't know what your lawyers are saying about that.
Yeah, they definitely do. They all feel that same sentiment, and what they're trying to do is get through to a point that a judge in the court can gravitate, can hold on to. And while we agree with that, it's a taking, and it's certainly an arbitrary. Somebody's up there saying, by the way, that business is going to live and that business is going to die. The Henry is going to live. We're not going to close the Henry down, but we're going to close all fitness centers down. Good luck if you can't get any money or whatever, or if your employees have to go elsewhere. So that's the part where I feel is right with you, is the unconstitutional nature. There is not, there's no fairness or sensibility or true proof as to why. And that's what we're asking from the governor's office. Just because he can in certain circumstances doesn't mean he has the right in the circumstances that he's done in this case.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, just for our people who are watching and they want to know what the Henry is, it's a restaurant. So
yeah.
That's a plug for the Henry. That's a plug for the Henry. It's a nice restaurant. So, the reality of this thing, I look at it and I'm with you. I mean, I've been in a big box store, for instance, and they're doing their best. They're trying to keep people 6 feet and everything, but before you get in there. But once you're in there and they've got little arrows, go this way and go that way, it's virtually impossible to always socially distance. And I'm not even sure what that boils down to anymore. But it does seem arbitrary. Why do we say to one retailer, you can have 5 people in your shop because we think that's all the space you've got, And why don't we let and my position has always been, why don't we let the retailer decide whether they want to enforce masks or social distancing and put up a sign or whatever. And if I want to go into that retailer and I say, oh, but they don't have masks, then I can make the decision, no, I think I'll pass. That's what I call freedom, is that freedom of choice and personal accountability that we see that's being taken away here. So I guess you got a hearing on Monday.
Right.
And we're going to watch this very closely and see how that comes out. But I can't go without bringing up another subject, which I find is ironic. I don't know what your demographic is, but I would suggest that most of your patrons are in the age 21 to 44 demographic.
I would say that's the meat and potatoes of it. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, you're going to get some old guys like me in there and that type of thing, but mostly they're going to be in that demographic. And if you look on the Arizona Department of Health Services website and go to their dashboard and you look at their demographics and you start clicking around, what you're going to find, you got to do a little math yourself because they haven't extrapolated, so you can do it. Roughly 12% of all cases in Arizona, all positive detected cases. I mean, there may be, as the CDC said, there may be 10 times as many people, but well over half of your COVID cases are I should say right at half. The numbers went down a little bit yesterday, but right at half are in that age 20 to 44 demographic. Mm-hmm. But the case fatality rate is just a fraction of this.
Percentage-wise, it's shrinking quite a bit.
Yeah, and then the other thing, if you begin looking at this thing, if you have a comorbidity, if you have heart disease, you're morbidly obese, if you have diabetes, if you have lung malfunctions anywhere or any organ malfunctions, those are the most vulnerable of people, along with the people over age 65. So those would be the people that, if I were interested in really trying to make sure that we stanch the case fatality rate, I would be focusing on those groups of people. I would just assume that people going to gym, they're there, they have a better chance of being healthy. I mean, good grief, because they're committed to fitness. I mean, that's it. In other words, what I'm saying is, I'm not understanding the connection between closing gyms and the rationale behind this whole thing.
There isn't, and there really isn't. And what they want to use is gathering places, but that's completely false. And I made this statement yesterday, is that, one thing that's different from a Safeway or a Home Depot and compared to a health club is we have members, not customers, which allows us to say, Congressman Biggs, when you come in, you can be on that treadmill, but you can't be on that treadmill. When I'm in a Home Depot, I'm going to walk down an aisle, and you and I might walk right by each other and pick up that box of screws, and then you might not like it and put it down, and I'm going to pick it up. Well, in the health club, I can wipe down that piece of equipment because I have the wipes there. I would argue we're 10 times cleaner than walking through a Safeway if I pick a box of Cheerios and you did the same. So it's ludicrous to say that that's the case. And my frustration was, if you were really trying to do something, if the pandemic has gotten to this level, to actually say we're going to close movie theaters that are currently closed. We're going to close the Salt River, which, the tubing. And by the way, one really active business, which is the fitness centers, that's just ludicrous. If it's this bad, close everything. You cannot single us out. We are not a gathering place in that manner. So, and I believe even though they are closing bars, we are separated and different from a bar. So I think there's just got to be a little bit more sensibility to it. And that's where this suit is coming from.
Yeah, it's been very interesting to hear, Tom, because my immediate reaction was all the things that we've been talking about, because I've been watching this very closely, and it's been driving me crazy for a long time. Because the other thing I would say is when you can work out physically, then there's some mental health aspects as well.
Absolutely.
And one thing we've seen here is, and the studies are out and they're pretty clear, we've had a spike in suicides with the lockdowns. We've had increased domestic violence, increased child abuse, increased abuse of drugs and alcohol. All these social pathologies. We've got a clinical depression increase that is a social, or excuse me, a public health issue that we're not even beginning to address. We've got epidemiologists and studies saying lockdowns have not actually reduced the curve or whatever. In fact, we were told we want to flatten the curve. We did flatten the curve, and yet now we're coming back and we have a surge, and the surge is not necessarily in fatalities. The surge is in the raw number of cases, and we know that we're testing more people. We know that we have people that are out there, and we know that we've got asymptomatic people that don't even know it, and we have CDC saying, look, you've got potentially 10 times as many people that would have had this disease that we've been able to record or detect. Then you have Dr. Birx saying about 2 months ago that she estimated that we were overcounting our fatality rate by at least 25%. And I use the word at least because that's what she said, at least 25%. So you have this scenario going on, and at the same time you're shutting down businesses, and in particular
arbitrary fashion.
Yeah, in an arbitrary fashion, and businesses, quite frankly, that I look at your business and I would say there's a business that actually can design itself to, if they want to be socially distant and whatever, they can do that easier than, say, perhaps even a big box grocery store or a hardware store. And so I'm just struggling to get the logic of it, and I know you are too.
Absolutely. We are absolutely aligned in that, Congressman Biggs, and certainly frustrated as to the direction of this, and I feel what some of the placating to that is. And I feel like, this is not easy. It does, by any means, it does not lighten what we feel about the virus. This is about civil liberties. This is about the decision process. This is certainly about so much more. All businesses, I said to the news crews last night, what is to stop it from being you or the next business without any warning or reasoning behind it in this. So there's a lot of frustration, and I think people through the groundswell, we've had a 93% support rate, which is almost unheard of since this came out. All we want to do is just stay open, but I think it's touched a nerve on not only Arizona, but now it's reached across America. And we're just going to have to see what happens. I think people are understanding our position.
Well, Tom, I wish you the best, and I'm glad you have a 93% approval rating. Congress is right around that somewhere, they tell me. Actually, no, I think it's flipped. I think we got a 7% approval rating, maybe. Well,
I sure appreciate you and all the work you're doing for our state, Congressman Biggs. I really do, and certainly thank you for having me on today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Keep us posted. We'll keep watching as well. And anything we can do, let me know, Tom. And I wish you Godspeed and to your employees and your members as well. And I hope you come out of this better than ever. Really do.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.